wanted to, before we actually talk about the 3 tips today, I wanted to let you know and remind you about the instructional technology and coaching, instructional technology coaching and support website. So this comes out usually at the bottom of our emails and with the 2 tips at 2, where you can see what we're going to be doing each day, what kind of office hours we have, what sessions are being offered. You can book appointments here on the right, and then here are the contact phone numbers as well. Of course, you know, you can always get to us by email. If you send your email to the whole team, then we all get it, and then that way whoever is most available can readily respond. The 3 tips we're going to talk about today are personalizing your Canvas dashboard, and this could also help your students as well, because they might need some of these tips, some navigation settings, and then some information about course announcements. So those are 3 tips that I wanted to share with you today. So number 1, your course dashboard, when you look at it, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see a lot more of my dashboard, has my course cards on it. And maybe you weren't aware, maybe your students don't know either, that they can drag these course cards around. So if you drag them around on your dashboard, that won't affect your students' view of Canvas. So anything that you do on your dashboard, you might want to let them know about. Another tip is on the upper right to make sure that you are in card view. Sometimes people switch to list view and this is what it looks like. And you're like, oh my gosh, where did all my courses go? This has definitely happened to students. So we recommend that you keep all your course cards or keep your view in course card view. Also, if you do not like this color overlay, that's under this small menu. If you turn it off, it does not turn it off for your students. So you want to make sure and let them know that information. If you look at theirs and it's kind of fuzzy, sometimes that makes people think things are inactive. So it might just be something to mention with them. Notice on every course card, you have little indicators here. So in this interactive tools course, you can see that there are no notifications, no assignments due, there are some discussions to be graded, and then this goes to the files for the course. So you may or may not have those icons on your course, and the same could be true for your students. Now, something that I've noticed is that you can always return to your dashboard to see your courses. Also, you can click the book on the left, courses, and then you see all your courses. When you scroll all the way down, you'll have all courses. When you visit this all courses page, you can favorite courses that you want to see on your dashboard and then unfavorite the ones that you don't want to see. What I want to make everybody aware of is that the first time you do this, if you favorite one course, that might be the only course you see when you return to your dashboard. And that's because when we got started, everybody got a certain amount of courses. Maybe you created a sandbox and your dashboard looked a certain way, but you did not actually set that up. So if you want some control over what you see on your dashboard, you go to courses, scroll all the way down, and you can tell this to your students too, all courses, and then favorite the ones that you want to see. And then when you get back to your dashboard, you can drag them around. Now, instructors will most likely have 2 views. You'll have your published courses at the top, and then you'll have unpublished courses at the bottom. So notice these do have the overlay. Oh, no, I turned my overlay on, I guess. Let me turn that back off. So I thought maybe they were going to look inactive, but you can see your unpublished courses at the bottom. Unpublished courses will be courses that you have in some state of development that you do not want to make available to students. Could be your sandbox, could be a shared course with another teacher or set of teachers, whatever works for you. But if you have courses in the top that are published that you maybe don't necessarily need published, you can always choose to unpublish them if you want to. I would not unpublish courses with students in them that could affect any work that they've submitted. So just keep an eye out, make sure you check on the People tab before you unpublish, that you're unpublishing a course without students. Okay, so that's all about personalizing your dashboard. I really tend to move these things around based on what I'm using. So I know a lot of teachers might have like a homeroom course if you're elementary, or you have your first period course, your second period course. You put them in the order that works for you and remind your students that they can do the same. Now I'm going to visit my Sandbox course and talk to you just a little bit about navigation settings. So on the left, this, well, on the very outside is global navigation, but then these blue links here are navigation links that you can modify for what your students will see. So on mine right now, all of these with the I crossed out mean that those would not be visible to students. I wanted to show you in settings how you can modify this list. There are two things you can do. In feature options, you can turn on this elementary canvas theming, which automatically reduces the menu options and also changes the font. So I turned it off, now I'll turn it back on. And you can see that it went ahead and modified the font. Now, more importantly though, is clicking on course settings and then navigation. The table at the top, this is the list that is visible to your students, and the table at the bottom are the things that will be hidden from your students. And take note that there's a save button at the very bottom. So when you make these changes, make sure you click save. I really do not need my students to see Edpuzzle, so I'm just going to drag it down. If you're not using something like Seesaw, you can disable that, which moves it down. So there are two ways to get things from the top to the bottom. If you're not going to be using conferences, you can just drag it down. We definitely recommend, you obviously are going to keep home. Can't even move that one. You most likely are going to keep modules. If you are using page-based navigation, you might remove modules, but if you run into some sort of access issue, you might have to put that one back. You can decide. I don't necessarily want to leave the assignments link for my students because when you make assignments, they all get put into the assignments index page in alphabetical order. So if you were to send your students to the assignments page, it could be very difficult for them to navigate. You can create assignment groups and make weights for those for your grade book and things like that. But most of the time, I do not think you're going to be sending students to the assignments page. I think it could be kind of confusing for them. In the same way, I would not want to have the pages link on the left because the pages is also a pages index page, a home page of all your pages. And if you've been doing any development in Canvas, you might realize that you're going to have a lot of pages. So you really wouldn't want to necessarily send students there. I'm going to keep announcements, and you see I moved it up to the top. And I'm going to talk about that next. And in order for the kids to be able to click on announcements, you have to have it in your navigation menu. I think that looks pretty good for now. I want to remind you about the syllabus page, that this syllabus page is built by Canvas according to due dates and things like that. So I'll bring it up here and we can take a look at it. I have a link in here for virtual classroom, and if you're interested, this goes to my Zoom link. You can set up a link right on the left side in the navigation to your virtual classroom. Now it'll be one single link. It won't be multiple Zoom links. So it would just be maybe to your personal meeting room or something like that. You can really put almost any link over here with the redirect app, which I can talk to you about individually if you're interested in that. That looks pretty good. I don't think you really need anything else over there. You might see Nearpod in the list, Studio, you could use those later. Nearpod, you can keep on the outside if you're going to give the students the Nearpod code to launch a lesson. However, if you're going to be putting Nearpod in a Canvas page or in an assignment or in a discussion or somewhere else, then that will auto connect to Nearpod, and the students will not need to go to the nearpod.com site and enter the code, because your link will have the code embedded. So that's really great. Don't forget to click save here, very important. And I almost wish they would just move that up here to the top so you don't forget about it. So good, now let's visit the home page and also remember that we can check it out in student view. So student view is going to be on the right, and you can see that I don't have my modules open yet. And you might say, well, Michelle, you put announcements in the navigation, but it's not there. And that's because I don't have any announcements yet. So that's why the students would not see the announcement link. But we're going to take care of that very shortly. So you can see that I have my homepage in a module that I, as the teacher, have not unlocked yet. So when I go to modules, these all work. I wanted to quick show you the syllabus. And you can see here that I can edit the content at the top if I'm a teacher. It's just like a Canvas page, but the rest of this information was auto-generated. So unless you are being careful with your discussion and assignments and quiz due dates, then you might not want to have the syllabus turned on. So that's a navigation tip there. All right, great. So let's talk about announcements. That's my main tips for navigation there. Some things you might want to change to give your students less options, but keep them more focused on what you want them to be seeing and doing. All right, announcements. Now, this is going to involve 2 steps. Number 1, announcements are pretty easy to do. What I want to say is that when you make an announcement, as long as your students have that notification turned on, they will receive this announcement in their Gmail as well. So let's go ahead and click it. New announcement. You'll notice that I get a title here. Spirit Day. And then you have the rich content editor. So this box looks just like all the other boxes that text boxes that you see in Canvas. And the reason it's the rich content editor is because you have the ability to put in external links, course links, images. You can record video, audio in here to provide directions. You can link to course files. I could link to Canvas Studio videos that I have, or my file from my Google Drive. So you can really I can put a YouTube video in there. All the same things that you can do in this rich content editor in any other box. I'm going to just quick put in an image. And remember, you don't have to have an image. You can use Unsplash when you click Upload Image and search for a term. So I'll just search for spirit. Oh, that's not going to be quite what I wanted here. Let's try another one. Spirit Day. I'm just going to search for flag. All right. So, and then you just click Submit, and you can do different things. When you go to Image Options, you can come over here and say, oh, I just want to make this small. And now I have a small flag image in my box. And I'm going to put on my announcement. There we go. Of course, you can do all the fancy things with text that you want to do. Now, I can post it to all sections, different sections. You can attach files. I don't think I have any sections. Oh, I do. I could put it to my physical education distance learning kids. And then you see down here, I can schedule the posting. So this is really awesome. You could put your Zoom link in here. You could put a reminder, all kinds of different things you can do with announcements. You can allow comments or not. So it's not really a true discussion. You're not going to be doing any grading, but you can decide if you're looking for input, and you can also restrict student B from seeing student A's response until student B actually posts, and you can allow liking and decide some settings for that. So I'm going to turn those things off, and this one too. I'll turn on the comments so we can see what it looks like. There we go. So I'm just going to click Save. And now when I look in Spirit View or Student View, let's take a look. I should see the announcement. I have one more tip about announcements though that I think makes it even more valuable. Oh, it also showed up in the to-do list on the side. So here we go. It is Spirit Day, and when they click on it, they'll get the full announcement. So you might want to provide directions saying click to read the whole announcement. Here's where they can reply. I could search for people's names in here. So that part is like the discussion. All right. Now, last tip about announcements. So many tips, right? When I am on the home page, as the instructor, you can set it so that announcements feed in at the top of the course. I really recommend only one announcement up there, because once you get 2, 3, more announcements, it just takes up more space on the screen. But, it's really up to you. You can decide. Maybe you'd have 2. Now, in order to make that happen, you have to go back to course settings. And this is really kind of hidden. That's why I wanted to draw your attention to it. On the course details tab, if you scroll all the way down and click more options, here it is right here. Show recent announcements on a course home page. I usually set it to 1. And then you also have some other settings here. These don't have to do with announcements, but since we're here, we may as well look at them, right? Like these are the other options. Maybe you don't want kids organizing their own groups. Maybe you don't want them doing these things. So you can turn those things on and off for your students in the course settings tab. The course details tab in your settings. So let's see what it looks like. Home. And now here's my announcement at the top. And you can see if you put one of these, okay, but as soon as you put 2 or 3, they all take up about an equal amount of space and maybe even more depending on how large your announcement is. And so it could just start to, take up the screen real estate. And remember, we're not sure about, all the devices that students might be using when they are away from school. So here's what it looks like for them. Pretty much the same as it looked for me.